another update. Let's take a look at the PulseChain ecosystem today. We'll take a look at PulseX, PLS, Incentive, pHex, eHEX, and we'll also take a look at this coin called Axis. One of the guys there on Twitter asked for it. It's one of the coins in the PulseChain ecosystem, so we can definitely take a look at that during the end. Going to PulseX over here, like I say in my previous videos, we have a 3 down in your A, 3 up in your B, and then a 5-wave move to the downside within your C wave. And this C wave actually came down towards the 78.6% fib when we take a fib from this low over here in September up to this high in March. Okay, now it does look like we are seeing a little bit of rejection off of the 78.6% fib intermediate resistance. So if you take a fib from this wave 4 high down to this wave 5 low, you can see that we're facing some rejection here at the 786. Okay, now like I said in yesterday's video, if we're unable to get above this intermediate resistance here, I'll show you guys over here. So if we're unable to get above this intermediate resistance at 402677, then it's likely we'll see a little bit of a throwback, at least towards the median, right? Point of interest would be the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders pattern. Okay, now a move down is not guaranteed, but I'm just pointing out the possibility of one. Considering we're facing a little bit of rejection at the 786 here, what you can actually do is take a fib from this pivot up to this expected local top. And let's take a look at the fibs over here. Okay, so these over here would be all of the Fibonacci retracement levels for supports right over here. Okay, so it may come down to any of these fibs over here and then see the reversal, right? I would say worst case scenario, it comes down towards the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders pattern at the 78.6% fib and then see a nice retrace from there, or a reversal from there. Okay, we can also take a look at, so before we take a look at PLS, the structure that's forming here on PulseX is a very bullish structure. It looks like last time we got above the cloud on the 3-day time frame, we went very parabolic. Okay, I'll show you guys right over here. So if you look back in January, at the beginning of the year, you see how we went above the cloud with a solid green candle, and then we just kept going from there. And then it marked a very volatile period in the chart. You can see now we're entering into the cloud, so there is a possibility we would be gravitated higher towards the macro 702.786 at 40553 and 4064. Okay, let's take a look at PLS over here. So same concept, 335 Elliott wave flat pattern. Now the whole PulseChain ecosystem, it's just doing a flat pattern. These are some examples of a flat pattern over here. Okay, it's the exact same thing, right? So this is what PLS is doing. As you can see, it has broken out of this bullish descending broadening wedge, facing a little bit of resistance at intermediate targets over here at the 786 and 702, at 4045 and 4047. Okay, you see how we're facing a little resistance here? So don't be surprised if we do end up seeing a little bit of a pullback towards the median or the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders pattern before continuing higher from there. Okay, we can drop down to the 4-hour time frame over here. And if you look on the 4-hour time frame, you see this. We have a potential bearish shooting star pattern kind of on the candlestick, but we'll continue to watch this. We can take a fib from this low over here up to this high and take a look at the Fibonacci retracement levels. Okay, so these are the Fibonacci retracement levels that it can retrace to before extending higher. Okay, you see this mini inverted head and shoulders pattern. So we may see a pullback towards the neckline before continuing higher. Now there's no guarantee we have this pullback here, but I'm just saying it is possible because you can see that if you take a fib from July high down to our September low, we have hit intermediate resistance here at the 786. Okay, now I would be expected for it to be eventually gravitated towards the 3 zeros 1193 and 3 zeros 1399, but that's just an intermediate target. I do expect it to break the all-time high and go much higher, because don't forget, this is a corrective pattern, and we're starting our impulsive move to the upside now. Okay, we've never had an impulsive move to the upside yet on the PulseChain ecosystem, so it looks like this move over here is our impulsive move, the start of our impulsive move. And you can see that we're approaching the cloud just like we were approaching the cloud over here, and then we saw a very volatile period in the market. You can see we actually came down to the low over here. We came down, so this over here was our low on PLS. We came down to it, dipped below it, so we dipped below the macro range lows, and this over here would be considered your manipulation. This is where all the smart money was buying. And we can see like very similar setups to other coins. Like for example, Link dipped below its macro accumulation range before it took off. Or for example, Algorand. So I can show you the concept over here, right? So let's say you have your accumulation. It'll dip below this psychological support over here, and then just chill out over here for a bit. All of the retail who accumulated within this range over here thinking that, okay, yeah, it broke the range low, so it's just going to continue lower, or at least do a back test and then continue lower. But what it really is that it's a power of three setup. So you have your accumulation, you have your manipulation under macro psychological support, and then you have your distribution or expansion. So we see that exact same thing here with PLS. You see how we dipped below this psychological support here? This was our manipulation zone. Okay, and we've been within this range for 479 days until we saw the inflection point. For PLSX, it's 479 days. Okay, now we can also take a look here at incentive token. So this is incentive token over here. It's either an impulsive move to the upside or a corrective one. Okay, now take these targets with a grain of salt. We'll definitely have to alter these targets and waves as the price develops, but we'll do so in the Discord. Similar to that of PulseX and PLS, we are facing some resistance at the intermediate target of 702, 786 at 265 and 248. So don't be surprised if we do have a pullback. Let's go over here on the 4-hour time frame. You can see the candle over here is printing a little bit of a bearish shooting star. So we may see a little bit of a pullback here. Let's take a fib from this pivot over here up to this high, and these over here are all of the DCA targets. Okay. Okay, so you may see a little bit of a throwback and then a continuation higher. Okay, so if we were to have a dip, just remember the dip would be for buying, because we have broken out of a very important level, off a very important level, and that's the 61.8% fib. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. Okay, so you see how we pulled back to support, but we did it on low volume. Taking a look at this weekly, we have a very bullish weekly candle. Daily is still bullish, but I just wanted to bring it towards your attention that we're hovering, or we're just under the 786. So on PLS, the 786 is 4047. PulseX is 265. sorry, incentive it's 265, PulseX it's 40267. And remember, if you get above these intermediate resistances over here, then it's likely we'll go towards the next macro target, which would be over here. Okay, this is PLS. This is PulseX, right over here. And this is incentive token. We would see a move towards 560 and 668 right here. But we need to get above this intermediate resistance first. Before we can take a look at higher, let's first take a look at the resistance that we have in front of us. So it's this region over here, 248 to 265 on incentive. Okay. So everything is looking bullish over here. I just find it very significant that we had a pullback on low volume. You see, even on PLS, we had a low volume pullback here. PulseX, low volume pullback. And something that's very significant is this 3-day MACD over here. You guys see this 3-day MACD on PulseX? It is turning up over here, and we also have bullish divergence at the lows. Okay, let's take a look at HEX over here. So HEX is doing a Wyckoff accumulation schematic. We've been within this accumulation schematic for a little bit over 1 year. So about, or we can say, 482 days. And it's doing the same thing as PLS and PulseX, just a 335. Remember, this is what it looks like. Okay. And we are facing resistance at the 702, 786. Get above the 702 and 786, then we'll head towards 0.0159 and 0.019. Let's take a look at eHEX. Now, eHEX has broken out of its ending diagonal. We have dipped halfway in between the 78.6% fib and the 70.2% fib. And like I said in my previous videos, when the market dips within this region over here, then it means we're highly oversold and we're likely going to see a reversal. And what do we see over here? An ending diagonal breakout within that region. And we also have monthly MACD to back up our bullish bias. So taking a look here at the monthly MACD on HEX, eHEX, look at this. You see how it crossed over here? So it's crossing upwards. So very significant histogram turning up towards the 0 line. Would be expecting a move towards at least the 50% fib at 2 cent. We may see a little bit of a decline from there. And there's a possibility we head higher towards the 70.2 to 78.6% fib at 0.076 and 0.128. Okay, so I'm not as confident in eHEX as I am with the rest of the PulseChain ecosystem. So the most safest option, the most safest way to approach this coin would be to ladder out at the fibs. The main point of interest would be the 786 and the 70.2% fib, but the more conservative targets would be at the 50 and the 61.8. Something very bullish that could occur on PulseX would be that we actually go ahead and make a new all-time high. But in order for that to happen, this would be considered your A wave, and this is your B wave, and then we come up for a C wave like this towards the 1.236% extension right over here. Right over here at $2. That would be the most optimistic scenario, but take this most optimistic scenario with a grain of salt, because there may be a possibility that it only comes up to the Fibonacci retracements rather than make a new all-time high. But for the rest of the ecosystem, I'm very confident that we do make a new all-time high, because look at the way it's starting here. It's starting with a ABC. With hex, we already had that, so let's take a look at axis over here, and I do expect it to come up towards the 1.618 to 2.618 extension, taking a fib from this high over here down to this low. So I would be expecting it to come up to 64,365 and 99.8, with a possibility of a wick towards the 4.236 extension. This does look like a bearish ascending channel or a ending diagonal, so it may have one more drive up here and then come down like this. Just one possibility, but let's take a look at the resistances above. So far the whole ecosystem does look like it has bottomed. Going forward, we would just want to see a push above this intermediate resistance over here. Okay, this is PLS, this is PulseX, right? This intermediate resistance over here. This is hex, or sorry, pHex. So this intermediate resistance right here. This is incentive. Approaching the 786 here. So this resistance here in order to confirm higher. But the bias would be that we have bottomed, so definitely some good times around the corner. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to stay updated, then definitely click the link in the description below to join the Discord, as I will have to change the analysis as the market progresses. So definitely click the link in the description below to join the Discord so you can stay updated on the exit targets along with the Richard Hart ecosystem. Peace out and take it easy. See you in the next one.